Testing, testing. Hi, Jody. Can you hear me?
I sure can. Am I the only one on?
So far, yep. I got one person in here and then just you on so far.
Cool, cool.
All right, so I'm going to go through my basic DocuSign stuff. I'm also going to add in like my tips and tricks and whatnot. So if you guys need me to, sometimes I tend to talk fast, so you will not hurt my feelings if you say repeat or slow down or whatever. I don't mind at all. You're not hurting my feelings. Um, but yeah, and like I said, I'll give you some tips and tricks how to save some time. I notice trends with people sometimes, so I just want to make sure I point those out and just make them very clear to help people save time.
Yeah, that's why I'm on the call.
Yeah, yeah.
Whoa.
All right, so basic start is to even get to DocuSign, the best way to do it is to actually go through command and not go to DocuSign.com. That way that you are going exactly to the transaction that you are needing to work on. So with when you log into command, if you click up here in this KW in the top left corner, it actually tells you what all the tabs are, so you don't have to remember the icons. But you would go to opportunities, which will bring you to this screen. You wouldn't have a team name, it would just be your individual name and all opportunities. And then you can find your opportunity from your list here. Or if you know they're under contract, you can literally go to the under contract phase and then click on the selected one that you need. So we're going to be in doing my test one, which I think is down here. Yeah. The one I'm going through today happens to be a listing, but that's not, shouldn't make a difference whether you want to do a buyer listing. It's still the same processes. It's just different forms. But once you're in the opportunity, you're going to click on the Documents tab. And then if you've never opened this room before, it will say go to DocuSign or go to transaction or start transaction, something like that. But this one says go to DocuSign because I've already started the room. You do have to pick a checklist over here first before it will even let you go to DocuSign. So just make sure you are picking the correct checklist dependent on what transaction you're doing. If it's a South Carolina or North Carolina listing, seller referral, and then it's the same for buyer, an NC sale or South Carolina sale, those types of things. So just make sure you're clicking on the correct one. I'm going to do the basic North Carolina listing one because that's what majority of people are going to be doing. Okay, and then you would go to your DocuSign. It will bring you to a login screen. I've already bypassed that since I was in there. So just make sure you log in with your correct email and password that you set up when you first got here. If it's not connected, make sure that you do schedule time with Rob, our tech guy, to make sure that it's connected properly. So I'm just going to continue assuming that everybody's able to get in and knows where we're at and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so when you first get in here, it's going to dump a bunch of forms in here. Sometimes that's a little overwhelming. So I just tell people to kind of do, at least at the beginning, kind of do a side-by-side view. So you just take your two, well, I don't know if it's going to let me show you guys with being on there, but if you take your screen side by side, it actually shows you the documents you need and what those form numbers are. So you know which forms that you need to do. And you can click on this requirement button and it will move all of the required fields to the top or required forms to the top. That way you can make sure you've got all the right ones. The forms that are going to be in here are going to be forms that you may need, right? Like if it's an FHA deal, then you would need the FHA addendum, that kind of stuff. So those are just, like conditional or optional depending on how your transaction's going. So you will not be needing every single form that's in there. But the first time you come in here, please make sure that you are filling out your forms on this screen. This is the biggest issue I have with people. And I'm just telling this because this will save you hours of work. Okay. So just make sure that you're coming here and you're clicking on the form and filling it out on this screen. This is the biggest time saver for everyone. A lot of people are just checking all the forms they need and then going straight to the envelope to fill it out. That can be done, but if you have to make changes to your form, doing it the wrong way, you would have to start completely over, right? It would only work for that one transaction. If you're filling out the form here, it will save everything you've done. So if you do need to make a change, like a price change or something like that, you can easily come back in here, change it, and just change that one thing instead of having to start completely over. So again, fill out your forms in this section, the document section, and not the envelopes section. Okay. Also, this is the area that you can upload PDFs if you have any. For instance, if you're on the buy side and you've gotten the property disclosure and the mineral oil and gas from the listing agent, you can go ahead and upload them here and add from computer and pull them in directly here. You can also do it on the next screen. That doesn't really matter with PDF because you can't change the actual document. Okay. Once it's signed. Right. And then you have to send the document to your client to sign, which is our next step. And then once you have your fully executed document, then it goes into command. So I'll show you how to do that. Just a little bit. All right. So let's say that we have filled out all the forms we needed right here on this screen. Okay. Then you're going to click in the top left corner on these squares to select the documents that you need to send to your client. Now this goes for whether you're sending it to a seller, sending it to your buyer, or if it's a form you need to sign yourself, or whatever the situation is, it's all going to be done the same way. You'll just click on all of the documents that you need to send out for signatures. Okay. You can also, there's a select all button that you could do that if you were going to do all of these. I'm just going to do a select few right here. But you'll see this tool comes up right here, list of tools, toolbar, whatever you want to call it. To get to your envelope, you're going to click on the pin. And for all of us old schoolers, if you think about it and compare this to snail mail, right? So we're in the document section where we are actually writing our letter. Okay. That's what the document section is. And then the envelope is literally the envelope. It's where you decide where it's going, how it's going to go into the envelope, and we're going to address the envelope and do all that, and then we will send it out. So it's the same concept. That's kind of where the verbiage came from. All right, so we're going to hit create envelope, and then you're going to select who the document is going to. So what I'm actually sending is listing paperwork. So what I have a seller 1, I have a seller 2, and the listing agent is going to have to sign the listing paperwork as well, right? So we're only going to select those 3. Since we're on the sell side, we don't know who's buying the house, so we don't have buyers yet, right? We're just listing the property. And then, of course, seller entity, just so that you know, is an LLC, a trust, an estate, something like that. That's where you would want to do seller entity. Yes, ma'am. So depending on what form you selected, those are the only options that will come up that the form is offering. So if it's just like a buyer working with real estate agents, then you're only going to have a buyer's on there. You're not even going to have a buyer's agent. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, correct. Yeah, yep. Because there's no slot for a buyer to sign, so that option's not even going to come up. Yep, exactly. All right, so we're going to hit continue. And it takes a minute just because it's loading all the little initials and signatures and everything on all of the documents. So it does take a second. Just bear with the system. All right, so now we're at the spot where we're going to decide what goes where and then who the intended recipients are and how we want it to go out to them. So here you can change the order of the documents. It usually goes in by like the number of the form or whatever. But if you wanted the listing agreement to go first, just click and drag. It will literally go there. So you can easily change the order depending on how you want it to go to your client. Obviously, it landed the right way this time, but we always want the working with real estate agent signed prior to an agreement being signed, whether it's the buyer agency or the listing agreement. Okay. You could, and this is where I said that you could also upload a PDF. I've actually been at a point where I'm in the middle of doing this and I get the property disclosure from the listing agent while I'm in the middle of preparing this. So I can easily go back in and upload it right here so I don't lose my spot and have to start back from the beginning. So that's great. All right, so once you figure out all the documents that you want to get in the envelope, we're going to click on Add Recipients. Okay. So this is going to automatically dump the ones that you selected, right? So we selected a seller 1, a seller 2, and a listing agent. So it automatically populated that information. Now, we'll take this in consideration here. There's a spot for a buyer to sign, but we didn't select it. If we had selected buyer, this would still say buyer right here, but the name and the email would be blank because we don't have anybody assigned to that position, right? So even if you accidentally clicked on the buyer tab, just because you're clicking fast, which happens, it's okay because then you can come back here and then you can delete the extra that was dropped in there. So it's kind of a fail-proof situation. Okay. Now over here on the left hand, oh yeah, do you have a question?
Yeah.
Go
Why,
ahead.
how come when I'm doing this, it never fills out the name and the email? I always have to go look it up somewhere. It doesn't remember it. Where am I missing that? Why doesn't it auto-populate the seller name and seller email? I always have to go and add it manually when I create an envelope.
Right. So there's a couple of things there. So with DocuSign, everything is autofill. Okay. Now I'm going to use this as an example because this is something that comes up all the time. When you're doing an offer for North Carolina specifically, if you go to the page where it lists who the listing agent is and the buyer's agent, it pulls up your client's personal information, the email address, name, and all that kind of stuff. If you delete it from there, it's going to take it away everywhere. So if you've done that at some point in the transaction, that's just one example of how it might be missing. However, if you do need to add it back for whatever reason, I'm going to switch real quick so I can show you
Okay.
where you can go back and add it in so you won't have to ever do that again. There's just different forms. And this is just one hiccup with DocuSign, but everything autofills. It's supposed to help save time by autofilling, but if you delete it from somewhere for any reason whatsoever, it's going to delete it everywhere. So if
Mhm.
you go to the detail section right here,
Yep.
so if you do notice that, you can come back here and then just hit edit. And if it's a seller, just add the information for the seller here. You'll have to scroll all the way down for buyer, but you add all the people on the right-hand side. So you can add the email address, phone numbers, whatever you need over here, and it will resave it for your autofill. If you just do it on the envelope where we just were, it's not going to save for any future transactions. Anything that you do in the envelope section does not save for future. So that's why I said if you fill out the documents here,
Okay.
it will do it throughout everything. Does that
Okay.
answer I mean, it kind of answers your question. I can't tell you exactly where it got deleted, but somewhere in the process it got deleted for whatever reason.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And it happens all the time. All right, so I'm going to go back to where we were. Okay. So when you're here, here's another place you can grab it too, possibly, Jody. Um, if your seller 1 is coming up blank, if you click on this button here and either go to room contacts, because sometimes I've seen here where the email is removed from here. You could
Mhm.
also go to address book and search for them, and it may be in here if you have previously sent them an envelope.
Okay.
So like my name is going to come up right here. But that's another way that you can just pull it without leaving where you're at and going back to details. You can still move forward with this envelope regardless. Just remember, once you send the envelope, just make sure you go back into the details afterwards and make sure that it did populate back in there. And if not, just add it.
Gotcha.
Okay. All right. And then here too, you can change the order for which these go out. My rule of thumb, just so you guys know, is the agent always sign last. And the reason for that is, especially if you have a high C client, and I'm referencing the disc if you guys have taken that, but a high C is a very analytical, somebody who wants to read every single word, right? So they're the ones who are going to tell you if something's misspelled, there's a typo, or whatever that situation is, right? If you as the agent have already signed it, you cannot edit something that someone has already signed. However, if you put that high C person who's going to read line by line and let you know something's wrong, put them first so that if they reach out to you and say, hey, you spelled my wife's name wrong, you know, it's EA, not A, or yeah, AY or EY, whatever is usually the biggest one. But you can go in and change it without having to start over. And that's why I say put yourself last, because your clients will let you know if something needs to be adjusted prior to you signing. Okay. So by doing that, it defaults 1, 2, 3. Okay. You can come in here and drag them just like you could before to change the order. Okay. But you can also change the number. Literally just click and just type the number in here. You can send the form to multiple people at one time. I can say, all right, I want it to go to seller 1 and seller 2 at the same time. And then after they both sign, then I want it to come to me as the agent. Okay. Also over here, this little drop down has different options for you. I've never really needed to use any of these other than receives a copy. This is good for like your transaction coordinator so that after every single person signs, it will automatically go to your transaction partner and they will just get a copy, just like everybody else gets a copy when it's done. Right? So my clients are signing, then the agent's going to sign, and once the document's complete, all 4 of us are going to get a copy, but nothing's going to be designated for my transaction coordinator to actually sign. And that just saves some time too, right? So like if you're out on the road, they complete it, you can't always just, you know, forward it to your transaction coordinator. So time of the essence, just have it sent directly to them when it's completed. Okay. You can also do that too if you need it to go to the listing agent. Say you wrote an offer and you're on a time crunch and you just want it to go straight to the listing agent after everybody has signed. This is another way that you can do that as well. Just add them to it. All right, so a lot of people skip this section. Please do not. This is extremely important for your organization as well as your clients. Okay, if you click on add message, it defaults to this long thing right here, which means this is the subject of the email. So when the DocuSign email goes to them, you get all this stuff in here. If you've never done anything in DocuSign before, if you're not a real estate agent, you have no idea what this says. Okay, it looks like junk. It looks like spam. So that's why I say change the subject to something that your client will understand and something that you can recognize what you're sending. So for instance, this is listing paperwork, right? So I'm going to go here and delete this and I'm just going to write, please sign listing paperwork or listing docs for 123 Main Street. Okay, that's obvious what it is. When it goes to your clients, they're going to see that, right? Also, your envelope, every time you send an envelope, this is how that envelope is labeled for you to go back and view things. So it organizes how you put stuff in the system. So this not only helps you out, but it helps your client out as well. And then you can send a message if you want to. I don't usually, unless there's something specific that I need to put in there, but if you want to add a message within your email, you can. Okay. Move my screen here. All right. So up here, there's an actions button. You can save and close if you just want to save where you're at and come back to it later. You can. You can discard it if you messed up and you just feel better starting over. You have those two options there. But if you're good to go, we're just going to hit the next button. All right, and this is the envelope. So I'm going to repeat myself. Do not fill out your paperwork here. All paperwork work should be filled out prior to you even getting to the screen. So when you're in the document section, that is where you need to fill out all of your paperwork. If you fill it out here in the envelope, it will not save for future changes. If you need to get the form signed again, you're going to have to start completely over. And we all know when we're writing offers, sometimes you got to go back and forth and do some negotiation, right? How would you feel having to write your offer over and over and over because one thing had changed, right? So save some time, fill everything out in the documents section, and it will also autofill to all of your other forms, right? So you won't have to write your name over and over again. You won't have to put in your license number over and over again because it will autofill. If you put it in your listing agreement, it's going to show up on your offer to purchase. Okay, put it in the buyer agency, it's going to show up on your contract. So just make sure you are not filling anything out here. You can fill it out here. So like if you're going through this, reviewing it, and you forgot a checkbox or something, go ahead. You can do that here. That's fine. That's one little minor change. That's totally fine. Just remember that you'll need to make that correction next time as well, right? But this is not where you should finalize your paperwork. This is specifically just to drop initials and signatures. Okay. So first thing first, I just want to show you over here on the left-hand side, everything's color coded. I love this about DocuSign. It is very apparent who is who, right? So for instance, if we're right here, we can tell we have two different sellers here because one's blue, one's green. They are designated. And then you as the listing agent is going to be the third color. So when you go through your paperwork, you can easily make sure that you've got all of the initials and signatures showing up, right? All right, so here's some tips and tricks for you guys. All right, the first one is when you come and you've got to do these optional things, right? So it's usually dual agency. This particular one is whether you're going to do a coming soon, active, or a firm exclusive, right? Is where they just have to pick and choose which one. And that's why they show up only outlined, they're not filled in. That's an optional field. So when this goes to your client, and they're just click happy people, with which most of us are, let's just, okay, I know what I'm signing. Click, 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 click. It's going to skip over the optionals. It's not going to force them to stop and sign. So if they are click heavy, it's just, they're going to miss it. You're just going to have a blank. And then your file's going to kick back for compliance and you'll have to reach back out to your client to get it taken care of. So the fastest way to do it, to make it required, if you click on the outside of these initials and drag and highlight them, you'll just come over here and hit required. And then you can change them both at the same time. Now, don't get me wrong. You can come here, click on one and click on required, and then click on the other one and click on required. You can absolutely do that. Just one little shortcut is you can do them at the same time. Okay. I'll show you too on the mineral oil and gas, because this is usually where that comes up, and also on the professional services disclosure, where you need to duplicate and just drop a bunch of initials, right? I'll show you how to do that when we get there. All right, so I'd usually use this opportunity just to make sure there's no typos or nothing's missing, or you know, whatever that case is. All right, so we're back to optional fields, right? This is the dual agency stuff. Again, you can click on the outside, highlight the first two, and hit delete. Okay, we want to delete the first ones because we want them to do dual agency. We do not want to limit our clients and not having someone in our KW Valentine office not show our listing or us not allow our client to look at a KWB listing. We have over 600 people in this office. That's missing out a lot on inventory. So just make sure that you've talked to your client prior to sending this out through DocuSign so that they understand dual agency. That way you can require them to answer the right one, right? So we're going to do the same here. I'm going to click on the outside and I'm going to highlight these 4 at the bottom that say do not. All 4 of those are highlighted. I'm going to hit delete. It will delete all 4 at one time. And now I'm just going to highlight all 4 of these. Again, you're just clicking on the outside, highlighting them all. Come over here and hit required. And that way you're just not doing every individual. And sometimes we have people who have like 4 sellers. I mean, it becomes a lot. Okay. So just trying to show little tiny time saver stuffs. All right, we're going to keep going through everything. Just make sure everything is fine. And then we get to the signature page. Our office requires a client's phone number, email, and mailing address for your seller, for at least one of the sellers, okay? So a lot of times I'm filling this out for our agents on our team. I don't know their mailing address. They didn't give that to me. That's something that's not required in command, so I don't have that. So a lot of times what I will do is force my seller to write their mailing address in there for me. Okay, so right now it's gray. Gray means that everybody can see it, but it's not requiring anybody to fill it in. So what I'm going to do for my seller one, Mr. Test here, so I'm going to delete this whole row right here for mailing address, right? Just going to do the whole thing. I'm going to delete all that. And I'm going to come over here because he's blue. So under the blue, I'm going to go to the text box. And I'm going to put a blue text box in here, and you can change the size of this, just like anything else. You make it big, longer, however you want to do. I just go ahead and put it on the entire line. So this is going to force my seller to fill this out when he gets the form. He cannot complete the form without writing in what his address is. Okay. Sometimes the phone number doesn't pull through for whatever reason. I think it's because they have it mixed up on what's a cell phone and a home number. That's my technical wizard idea here. But again, you can type it in right here. Obviously, you would have your client's phone number. I don't know why you wouldn't, but you can type that in there yourself if it didn't populate. Or you can always toggle back to command and pull the phone number from there, which, oh, right here. Okay. Also, I do want to mention that at the end, if I have time, I'm going to show you how to do templates so that Keller Williams Ballantyne, the firm number, phone number, your license number, the mailing address, your phone number, and your email will show up automatically on all of your paperwork, so you don't have to type it every single time. So I'll show you that when we get done with this. All right, so like I said, I wanted to go to the MOG, the mineral and gas form. Okay, so as a buyer, I know this is a listing. Just kind of ignore that right now for this conversation. But as a buyer, you're going to get this form over and you have to put all of your client's initials over here. They have to initial the answers that the seller put over here. They have to understand what all that means, right? So here's a quick, easy way to do that. So first, I'm going to do the initial for my first buyer. Line up the line at the bottom of the pencil with the actual line on here. Okay. If you put it like this, the initials are going to be too high. Okay. So just line it up like that. And then I just make it smaller just to make it a little bit easier to read. Okay. Now, see how I have it picked, right? I have it highlighted right here. If you do, okay, if you have a Mac, I don't know what the number is. I think it's command or control or something like that. But for a regular PC, it's Control C is to copy. Okay. And then you're going to do Control V to paste. And then you can line it up here. Okay. And I'm going to change it over here on the right-hand side to my second. In this case, it would be a buyer. All right. So that's one way to do it. You can also drag the initial here and then come here and click on your other one and do that here. You can do that too. There's nothing wrong with that. But once you have the two up here that you need, if you click on the outside and highlight and then hit Control C and Control V, it's going to dump those. Control V again, Control V again, Control V again, and last one. That way you don't have to do it on every single line. It just drops it for you. Believe me, I know how annoying it is to do one at a time. So I was blessed when I figured this out. It's Control C to copy it and Control V to paste. Yeah, for a Mac, I think it's Command or something like that. Yeah. But that's another little shortcut that you can do. Okay. Now I do want to show you the other features on here, just so that you know everything that you do have access to. I'm gonna just scroll up here a little bit just so I can have something to kind of work with here. All right, I'll do it on this page. All right. So like I said, everything is color coded. So this one particularly, we have our seller 1, seller 2, and our listing agent. Okay, those are the 3. All right, so right now I'm gonna work on something that I need everybody to see, but there wasn't a field for it or something like that. I just need to add something that there was not an allotted area for whatever reason. If you click on this pencil over here on the left-hand side, where it says pre-fill tools, the gray boxes are going to come up. So if you need to add something, take something out, whatever that is, do it here so that all parties can see. Okay? Yeah, I sure will. So like if you had picked a text box here that was green and wrote something in here, only seller 2, only this person would be able to see this. That's it. Right? We don't want that. Yeah. So you would come here and do a text. It will show up the same thing. You just come in and you just start typing. Okay. Now all parties can see what this is. Okay. You got your line here. This is for strike throughs. Okay. You just click in front and then click after, and you got your strike through. Okay. Again, don't do it over here. Don't do anything under the colored ones. It all needs to be gray so everybody can see it. So if you did want to change the contract price for whatever reason and you don't want to have to go back and do all the mess, you just want to go into a strike through and then change the price, this is how you would do it. You would do your line. This would be your new price. And then you have to come in here and drop initial so everybody can initial. Okay. But again, you can do the same Control C, Control V. And then you come over here and change it to your other seller. No, you're good. No, you're totally fine. All right, over here on the left-hand side, you've got a little pencil, pre-filled tools. All of these are gray. So if you just remember, gray is everybody can see it, okay? Right? So there may be times that you only want one of your clients to see something and not the other for whatever reason. I can't think of any example off the top of my head right now, but you can do that too. Just make sure you're doing the right colors, right? But if you want to, correct. The blue cannot see green and vice versa. Now, keep in mind too, if you do put a colored text box in here like we did right here, this is going to stop and require them to edit whatever is in this box. And sometimes we just want them to see it and not actually have to do anything. So just make sure you come over here, take out required, and click read only. Okay. All right, so we've got the box here. It defaults to required, okay, which means it's colored in. It's not just the outline. Okay, so just make sure you come over here and you change it from required to read only. And that way they can see it, but they don't have to do anything to it. It's not going to force them to have to make some kind of change to that particular box for whatever reason. Okay. And some people just want me to clarify some things. So obviously you can see these are check boxes right here. Okay, so that would be this checkbox button here. If you needed to add a checkbox. If you needed to also select it, you can hit the space bar. Space bar again to uncheck something. Okay, and they do have them here for the gray ones so that everybody can see them. Okay, and then the radio buttons are the ones where it's like multiple choice, right? You can only pick one. So you can add as many boxes as you need, but you can only select one at a time, right? And it's a double click for these. Okay, so that's the difference. You got your check boxes and you got your radio buttons. That's the difference between the two. Okay. All right. So pretty much the last thing that I kind of just want to touch on here. Again, up here in this section, you do have an actions tab as well. And you can go back and edit your message. You can edit your recipients and you can edit your documents. This is a great feature, so you don't have to like hit the back button and go back to the back screen and do it, and then you lose everything you just did. Okay, so if you needed to add a document, this is, again, I'll just use the example that I did before. I'm in the middle of putting all these initials and stuff on everything, and then I get the property disclosure from the listing agent. I'm right here, and I'm like, man, I don't want to start all the way over. You don't have to. You just come here, you hit edit documents, and then you upload the PDF right here. Okay. And then you hit, after you do that, you hit done, and it will put that form at the end. So you just come down here and then your property disclosure will be right here. Okay. Actions, edit documents, and then you just hit upload. You can pull it from your computer, wherever you've saved it, right? You just pull it from there and just add it here and you hit done, and then it will just drop it at the very end of where you're currently at. Yes. Yep, absolutely. And change the order. You can do that too. Any kind of thing you need to do with it. Yep. Yep. Sure can. Same with recipients. This has also happened to me too. I'm talking to the client on the phone. Hey, can you actually send it to my work email? Okay. Click on the edit recipients. You can come in here and change the email address right here without having, again, to go back. Right here. You just click on it and change it. Oh, yep. Same thing up here in the actions. Yep. Edit recipients. Yep. And also if you needed to change the message, right? So the subject of your email, if you needed to add something here, you can change those as well, if need be. But you do have those options right here. Okay. Yeah. Tuesdays from 1 to 2. Gotcha. You can also schedule one-on-one time with Rob Miller. If you want just one-on-one time with him, he knows all this stuff too, because I taught him. Exactly. Okay, and then over here, I want to just show you this quick little feature too, where the send button is. Obviously, if you hit send, it automatically sends it out. However you had it addressed and whatnot, it's going to go out, right? But this little triangle right here, if you click here, you can do send later. So why you might want to do this is, you need to submit an offer, I don't know, at 5 o'clock, but you're going to be out all day doing showings, inspections, whatever you got going on, and you are not going to be back in front of your computer for a while, right? Or, you're having a phone call with your client at 5 o'clock, but you're not going to have time beforehand to send them all the paperwork. You can have this send out at 4:30 today so that when you call them at 5, they've got it sitting in front of them. Okay. Or do it a half hour later. Hey, I talked to them at 5. I want this to go out at 5:30, right? So there's different reasons why you might want to send it later, but this is the option. Just please keep in mind, if yours is not set for Eastern, Just make sure that is adjusted accordingly. You can change the time frame in your settings in DocuSign if you want to go and do that, but just keep that in mind because it will say here what time it is, you know, so. So that's kind of a cool feature too, if you want to look into that. All right, any other questions about any of this? Because if not, I'm going to go to templates. Okay. All right, I'm going to just discard this. Yes, you can. You absolutely can. But that does bring up a good point. Just make sure you are in rooms. Okay, there's a couple different versions of DocuSign. If you just go to DocuSign.com and log in, I don't think it defaults to rooms automatically. But and another way you can do that is if you don't see the red KW right here when you're in DocuSign, then click on your picture, your name, whatever it shows right here. Switch, it will say switch to rooms. So this will make sure that you get to the KW rooms. Yeah. Perfect, perfect. Yep. And if you go straight through command, it does automatically go to rooms too. All right. So again, I'm going to tell you, templates are pre-filled forms that you can apply so that it fills out everything for that form. Now, for my team, I only do agreements and contracts. So I do templates for listing agreements for both states, buyer agencies, both states, contracts for both states. I don't do templates for anything else because those forms are so minor, right? There's not a lot to pre-fill. If I just have to check one box, why am I doing a template for one box? That's not really saving any time. Also with templates, when new forms come out, you do need to update your templates. It will auto-fill to a certain degree. So if the line was there in the previous one and it's now on the new one too, it will remain. But if they're making big changes to contracts and agreements or whatever, just make sure you do update your template so you can stay, in compliance. All right, to go to templates, if you come up here to My Documents, okay? If you Sure, if you go to just DocuSign.com and use your credentials that you have for Keller Williams, yeah, so whatever you signed up using DocuSign, like with your command, if whatever you got set up, they should have given you your DocuSign. It's usually your KW email and then a password. Yep. Sometimes people had their personal emails were in there for whatever reason, and that's fine too. But once you get in there and you click on My Documents, yours may look a little bit different if you are not licensed in South Carolina. So don't worry about that. The South Carolina stuff just won't apply to you. So if you go to My Forms, mine defaults to all of the listing paperwork for North Carolina. I don't know if that's at the top of your library right here where it says My Forms. But if it does, your listing agreement is number 2. Okay. Otherwise, you can also search the listing agreements as 101 for North Carolina. So it will pull it up that way too. Make sure you've got the correct one. Okay. And you'll just come over here when you have, obviously you're not going to have the ticker because you don't have any templates yet. But if you come over to the right-hand side and you click the down arrow, you'll have Create Template. And it's just going to pull up a regular listing agreement. It's going to be blank, just like it always is, right? But you can go in and fill out as much as you want on this, right? So obviously you're not going to have an address. You don't know that person's name right now. You also don't know the name, the address, stuff like that. You don't know the listing price yet. So all that stuff's going to stay blank. But you can type in Keller Williams Ballantyne area because that's something that's going to be on every single one of your listing agreements. That is not going to change. So go ahead and put that in there, right? As a team, we have designated ways, protocols that we do all of our paperwork. So anything that is standard for us as a team, I go ahead and check those boxes. Whatever I need to do. We always do coming soon, so I go ahead and check all of those boxes. Okay. So anything that you know is going to be pretty much all the time, go ahead and fill that out. Just keep in mind too, if you get one of those one-offs where we're not doing coming soon, when you go to fill it out, you can just uncheck those boxes. When you go to that specific one that's going to be different, just uncheck the box. Okay, we always put lock boxes, so I always have that marked. We have our fees that we charge for listings. I fill all that out already because all of our stuff is pretty standard. So I just do as much as I can. Usually properties are, we don't have, fuel tanks and everything, so I'm gonna put no. But if we end up having one, I can just go back and just change it. It's not a big deal. Okay. But this is the part that everybody loves. All this right here is already filled out. So once you do this on your template and put everything in here, you will never have to do it again on any form. Because keep in mind too, once you use a template on your listing agreement or your buyer agency, it's going to autofill to all of the rest of the documents, right? So any other place that you need your license number, it will be there already because of the autofill feature. So whenever you finish that, if you come up here, you can change the template to whatever you want it to be. I have a couple different versions of like the contract because one of the agents on my team, she also works in Western North Carolina up in the mountains. So on the contract, you can put the attorney's name. So on hers, I have the other attorney's name for Western instead of having a Charlotte attorney, right? So you can have two different templates that way if need be. Okay. But you can change the name of it so you know which is which. Okay. So again, like I said, I do it for the listing agreement, I do it for the buyer agency, and I do it for the contract for both states. I do all three of those for both states. Okay. All right, so now to implement it. So how do I get a template to apply to my stuff? All right, I'm just gonna pick one. Actually, this one's not a good one. Hold on. Let me just pull up my test one again. In your template, the office address, you mean? Yeah. Yep. Yep. So if you just did a listing template, okay, when you go back into your room and you're working on a seller deal, this is the listing agreement right here. So I know I have a template for this, right? So I'm going to right click in this area and you're going to drop down and you hit apply form template. Just do that before you start filling out your paperwork. And then all of your pre-fills will be in there. Now, if you try and click on something and you don't have a template, that option doesn't even come up in the drop down, right? I don't have a template for a mineral oil and gas, so the option's not even there. So that's another good thing. If you right click on it and it says template, then you know you have a template done for it. If that option doesn't show up, you haven't made a template for it. Pretty simple. Okay. The alternate thing to this is like if for some reason all the forms didn't drop in here for you when you first started the room, that has happened to people. If you click this plus add button up here, you can pull whatever form in you need. You just click on DocuSign forms. It'll pull up every form that you can imagine. Okay. This is all of the North Carolina forms. This is all of the South Carolina forms. This is all of Ballantyne, Keller Williams Ballantyne forms. This is all the MLS forms. So all your forms are here. Whatever you were looking for, you will find it. But since I'm sticking with the listing agreement, I'm going to go here. I'm just going to type in 101. It's right here. If I click right here, the template drop down shows up. So I'm gonna do that again for listing agreement. I'm gonna check the box to the left, and then the template drop down will show, and then I just pick the template I want, which mine was the NC listing agreement, and the template will load here, and then you can just add the form if for someone it didn't show up initially. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
So from here, where would I just like to get to?
Sure. So if you click right here, I'll just show you the shorthand real quick. It actually tells you what the icons are. Opportunities. So that's your transaction-based stuff for command. And you obviously will have to have an opportunity created. If you click on all opportunities, I'm assuming you don't quite yet.
No.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
oh, there you go. Just click on that. And then since we're working on documents today, we'll just skip to that. This is the checklist that I'm talking about that you need to have, and then you would go to DocuSign room. So you've already been in DocuSign. It already
Yeah.
shows that you have been in there. So at least you know
Just
that's
put it
how you
once,
get to it.
And I haven't used it since.
Yeah.
so, okay.
Yep. Might take a minute.
Oh, it says blocked. How should I?
Oh, you got to add, you got to fix the pop-up blocker. Okay, so it needs you to log in. I have never seen that before.
No.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so continue. We'll just use my KW command. Unable to log in.
Go back to your command real quick. Click on your name. Click on settings.
Sorry, guys.
Okay, you are connected.
Uh-huh.
So this is the email that you are connected with DocuSign. So I don't know why. All right, give me a minute. I'll work on you. Okay. All right. So that's pretty much my spiel for DocuSign. Is there something that anybody wants me to kind of go over again? Do you have specific questions that you need me to answer? I'm happy to repeat anything that I've already done.
No, it's been very helpful.
Perfect. Yeah, if you take nothing away from today, fill out your paperwork in the document section. That is the biggest time saver for anybody. All right.
I heard you. I think I
Good.
remember. I hope I remember. I hope I remember.
Yeah. That's the biggest issue that most people have complaints with DocuSign is I have to keep doing it over and over again. I said, no, you don't. You're just doing it the wrong way.
Well, and the templates, if I go ahead and fill out the templates.
Yes. Yep, because that'll just pull all your normal stuff through every time.
Mhm.
Yep. That is the No, that's fine. So there some of my old videos too, I think Liz has on our YouTube. And I think if I remember correctly, if you go to KWB resources, I'm just gonna pull it up so I can see it for myself. If you want one-on-one help, this is how you can schedule time with Rob. So you just click here and it has his calendar. You can book some time with him, and then you can get one-on-one training with him. Okay. And then you have on-demand training, which I think leads to Scott Leroy's. Oh, here you go. Click here for more DocuSign how-tos. And I don't know if those are if you click on on-demand training up here at the top, KWB. Yep, and it's right under Leah's picture. Yeah. Yep. All right. Anybody need anything else? All right, no problem. Of course.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank
And
you.
then next, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, just saying thank you.
Oh, no problem. Next Tuesday is just kind of like walk in, bring me questions. If nobody really has any questions, I usually reteach this exact same class.
Okay.
Because this is the class that most people want. So, yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Tech Tuesday. Here we go. There you go.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
That's